truth teller Doran has some new truths for us. Anduin abandons the light. This is huge. Now, we know Anduin has his light problems, his performance issues, things like that. But the new light from Hollowfall is coming. Let's see what Anduin, his new class change, is going to be. No longer a priest.
Everyone has been talking about Anduin's trauma and him losing his faith in the light, which caused a massive transformation we had all seen. But by all the evidence we had just gotten from the alpha, it seems like he is the one that abandoned the light and not the other way around. First of all, we had Anduin actually hiding from Turalyon. If he was really having trouble in his faith, wouldn't he consult with him first? Now, in the world,
yeah, I thought that was interesting from the very beginning. You guys remember when we talked about this back in Dragonflight? We had the stay a while and listen moment where you had Matthias Shaw talking to Jesus. What's his again, Greymane? Yeah, they're chatting, and then he goes, "Oh, should I inform Turalyon?" And he goes, "No, don't tell him." They're keeping this shit from him. I wouldn't. Turalyon is, he's gonna be a problem. I feel like if we prove that the light that we currently deal with is not the true light or something, he's going to have an issue with it, obviously. It's like in his DNA. That's why he's lived 1,000 years. So Turalyon, they're not wanting to tell him. There's some implications behind that for sure.
Alpha not only can we determine his sword without the light, just like it was in the artwork, but we got a whole conversation of Anduin talking about how there are things we don't know about Azeroth and the cosmological forces, and how his relationship with the light is different. So what does Anduin know that we don't? As with learning about what the light crystal really is and the light undead, it really seems like
these light undead too.
Changing rapidly.
The light itself, the lore behind it and everything is going to change for sure. Formax, am I the only one who doesn't see him as a problem as of yet? He's not a problem as of yet. No, I don't think you're the only one. He isn't a problem yet. The problem is he is very fixed in his ways, right? He is hyper attuned to the light and the Naru and all that shit. We saw how he reacted when Illidan killed Zira. So that was a big thing. And now if we come and tell him basically that the light he's been following isn't the true light, how is he going to react to that? I don't know. Plus, he's sitting on the throne of Stormwind. Is he going to give that up to Anduin as soon as Anduin returns? Easily. We don't know. But I think Turalyon's going to play some type of role, and it could be an evil one going forward.
Actually playing WoW on your phone is possible with Austin, this video sponsor. You can not only check in on your characters, but you can do things like pet battles and even fully play the game. Austin allows you to control the computer through your phone completely free, available for Windows,
Play WoW
iOS,
on your phone.
and
WoW on your phone.
It's super easy to
I remember a
use. Check out
line
the
of
description
his,
down
I
below.
think it
PC
was
and
about
Pro app,
controlling the
simply
power
connect.
and not the
free
power,
version is great, and you can
not the
control
power of the
desktop,
host.
transfer files and such,
I mean,
but
he
the
has a lot of
free
power. The
version
light
is
infused him with
custom
power.
keyboards for
Like I said, that's why he's
building
lived
games
so
other
long.
than just WoW, and you can enjoy
So
every
that's an interesting line from him, controlling the
it's
power. I mean, he is a host of power, and he's trying to control it, I guess. What's up, Acid?
200 people. They also got a smart lock to turn off your PC at any time, as well as hot sales with up to 40% off on pro and game versions. Check out Awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Use code Doran.
So, ever since the War Within cinematic, everyone was talking about how Anduin has changed, how he has been dealing with PTSD, trauma, and that forced this sudden change in appearance, the mental breakdown, and all the bad things he did with the jailer and the Shadowlands. While there's definitely some truth to this, with the recent alpha information, it really seems like there is so much more behind this, and it is a lot more complex than just jailer bad. He didn't lose the light because he no longer trusts in himself and is traumatized, but there seems to be something much more sinister going on behind the scenes. For some reason, Anduin got this reputation of being a crybaby, despite technically being one of the toughest characters in the game. I mean, keep in mind, trauma is not something new to Anduin. That is essentially his life in short, like in summary. He lost.
Yeah, he's lost. Yeah, I was just about to say, lost his mom when he was young. Lost his father twice, basically, because his father disappeared for a long time. Remember, he became the Boy King of Stormwind. Turned out that one of his most trusted allies was a fucking dragon, Onyxia. So that was another betrayal. Then his father returns, only to die later on in Legion. He has to retake the throne once again, trying to learn his way. The whole Mists of Pandaria thing happened. Rathian kind of duped him a little bit at some points. This guy's had issues with trusting people, with losing people, and then obviously mind-controlled. And he's got trauma from Shadowlands just like the rest of us. So when people call him a crybaby, I just say, remember what this guy went through, man. Oh, he almost died in MoP. Yeah, he did. Garrosh fucking threw him against you remember that? Almost one-shot him. Yeah, Garrosh almost crippled him. That's true. So he's been through a lot. To say that, he's a bitch or a crybaby, I always said, man, if anyone has the right to, have some mental breakdowns, it's Anduin. He's been through a shit ton of stuff.
Lost his mother when he was a kid, his father was kidnapped when he was really young, and he was put on the throne at like age of 5. He was missing in Pandaria, got nearly killed by Garrosh. He lost his father in a giant demonic invasion of the entire planet. Then while he was still being a teenager, he had to become a king and rule a giant faction, and almost immediately his hand was forced to now lead the biggest faction war ever, where
he becomes king in one of the biggest faction wars too, to follow.
Quite a few terrible things. Then, as that calmed down, he was abducted by the goofball jailer, who was then breaking his mind with all his force and turned him into a new version of Arthas. So when you really think about it, he has really been through a lot, and why would this jailer thing get him to lose the light and just completely break his character? Well, that is because he hasn't lost the light, but he is the one that actually ditched it. With all the recent light lore, I mean, the notion we had in the past that the light is this inner strength where you just gotta believe really hard and then it saves the world is such an outdated concept, and frankly really beyond naive when you really examine all the hints that we had gotten. Anduin has had a gift for the light since a really young age. He has actually managed to resurrect people on multiple occasions, and
the
while
big
I know
B-res,
this
man.
happens every 5 seconds essentially in the game, keep in mind in the lore this is a really rare occurrence. He was then tutored by Wellen, one of the most ancient characters we have in the game and an actual expert on the light. So while Anduin has gone through a lot of trauma, the light was always there for him, and when he lost this faith, this inner peace, this belief, that is what ultimately broke him, and that is how we got the broken Anduin in the War Within cinematic. And all of this is actually getting half confirmed with the alpha hints we had gotten. It's not just random speculation. I know no one really takes the jailer and the entire storyline seriously, but his role was actually crucial in this. Now, not to discount Arthas' Death Knight mind control thing and the fact that he had to attack the random Kyrians, but what this transformation actually put him through, how it opened his eyes and allowed him to see the universe for what it really is. The jailer is
that's true. As bitchy as the jailer was and annoying as he was, there were some truths to some of the issues that he was talking about. And you got to remember, when he's in Anduin's mind, Anduin is probably realizing some of these things. So, a lot of his shock and awe as he's going through everything, he probably realized that the side he thought he was fighting on that was purely good isn't as good as he thought it was. And I'm sure that played a role in him losing his power to control the light and everything else.
And allowed him to see the universe for
Discount
what it
Arthas,
really
yeah.
is. The jailer is technically on
Tibu
the same
Arthas.
cosmological level, at least knowledge-wise, as the Titans or Sargeras or the Naru or the Void Lords, and he has a really rare and unique perspective on what is really going on behind the scenes. He knows everything about the first ones, what is really going on, how predatory the 6 cosmological forces are, the ancient wars. On the other hand, we, the life beings, are essentially akin to ants when it comes to knowing how the universe really works. I mean, just look at how hilarious the human Church of Light actually is. It's like literally not connected in any way to the Army of the Light or the Naru ships or the Naru or the way that Draenei see the light, and it's such a tiny little view that is almost downright delusional. We occasionally get glimpses of what the light is doing and what it is capable of. We hear about Yrel.
My God, Yrel lost her damn shit. She is probably one of the hardest Fallout characters in the game. And I'm not the series Fallout, but in terms of like from hero to zero. Like, damn, she fell off, man.
Over Alter and Draenor with the Light Army and enslaving the people. We see the invasion in Revendreth in Shadowlands with our own eyes. We see Zera trying to force convert Illidan. So you can imagine when Anduin was used as an agent of Zowal, he got the front row seat to the ride that is called the cosmological truth.
Yeah.
The light was holding his mind from being broken in the Shadowlands, and the jailer understood that in order to break his mind, he would have to first show him what the light truly is, and that is what ultimately got him to falter. I mean, think about it. When Anduin was freed, he didn't go and chill out or go do therapy or whatnot. He decided to
Anduin's gonna get it raw, that's for sure. I mean, he feels it, man. He feels it.
Abandon his kingdom. He decided to travel the cosmos and the planes, and he decided to go to the Maw to talk with none other than Sylvanas. He didn't talk with his personal 25k years of knowledge Velen or Turalyon that is now leading the Alliance in his stead. No, he decided to talk with Sylvanas, the only other known character in the universe that saw the exact same thing with her own eyes as he has seen, and he knows everyone else would think he was just...
Yeah, if anyone had seen the same truths that he did during Shadowlands, it was her. So yeah, of course he wanted that. Plus, she's kind of hot. So
easy if he really told them
There's that
everything.
too.
So that now brings us to the War Within, and how previously this was a theory, I mean a pretty legit theory, but of course a speculation, but now we're getting quite a bit of evidence from the game itself. Anduin has been missing for years, and in 10.2.5 we got the first ever actual sighting from Gan Greymane, and he decided to hide this fact from Turalyon. I mean, just examine this. Turalyon is like the light incarnate. I mean, he's literally the leader of the light army, the most militant side of the light, and he's leading the alliance while Anduin is gone. If Anduin was really having like this soul-searching moment, like travel with his fate after all that he was put through, I mean, don't you think he would go immediately to Turalyon, check out how his kingdom is doing, consult with a character that he has thousands of years of experience with the light, and see how to go forward, how he can get the light back? No, he seems to be wary of this guy. He seems to be hiding, and interestingly though, we had data mined so many characters in the alpha so far, but not one thing about Turalyon. We got
man, Turalyon, he's so, there is something going on with him, that's for sure. Look at him sitting on that throne. Very, you know, very much attached to power. He's all about light, but he's in terms of light, he's about using light as a weapon, right? That's always been his way. War is all he's ever known. Sylvanas saw and still, still the last wisp of Arthas, she insulted him. Yeah, that scene needs to be deleted from our minds as absolute blasphemy. But in terms of the light and using it a certain way, even the way Anduin always used the light when he was using it for healing, right? He had a very hard time using it for in aggression. But Turalyon, I mean, the way he uses the light is purely for aggression.
One thing about Turalyon. We got Jaina, Troll, Illyria, all the big guys in the new Dalaran scenario that starts the expansion, so you would think the actual king of the Alliance would be present like how Varian was on the Broken Shore, but of course that could just be the fact that it is really early alpha. He may be showing up soon. However, from the actual evidence, first of all, you might have already noticed this in the official War Within artwork that Anduin's sword no longer has the light inside it. He's wielding Kingsmorn, which is the Mournblade version of his father's sword, while his sword has light in the alpha. This seems to just be a placeholder of Charlemagne. The sword we data mined in the game is actually empty.
Yeah, the one that was data mined recently does not have the light orb in it.
The sword is also empty in the War Within cinematic if you examine it. However, it doesn't seem like he's searching for a way to empower this sword in this expansion, and that leads us to the biggest evidence that we have, and that is of course an actual conversation from Anduin. Huge spoilers here, of course, about Magni, but as you might know, Magni is the voice of Azeroth. He has a unique connection, and from the things we can data mine, a lot of things happen, but he loses that crystal form. He returns back to his original dwarf form, and he reunites with his family. However, now we got a conversation between the sort of disillusioned Magni as well as Anduin that he has long been disillusioned. Anduin asks how he's feeling, and Magni says that he's kind of tired of this speaker nonsense, and it was an honor until it wasn't, and how Azeroth dragged him and his family to the ends of the earth, endangered everyone, and he doesn't even know what is even going on. Then Magni says that
Magni's clearly pissed off at Azeroth. I didn't even know this shit happens. So he's angry. I'd enjoy my break from being the king and savior of the world. Figure yourself out. Rest. Yeah, okay. Andrew, my relationship with the light is not like yours to Azeroth, but I can see what you mean. Interesting. So, I mean, he never talks about, Magni doesn't talk about necessarily being betrayed. He says, the light seems a fairer master. I doubt you are left truly interesting.
What is even going on? Then Magni says that Anduin is in the same boat, but it seems like the light is a fairer master than Azeroth, and he doubts that it truly left him. Like, he is positive that Anduin will soon find it. However, Anduin
doesn't seem so sure.
Not really opening up on what is really going on. He says he could say the same thing about him and Azeroth, and that it's not really about him, and how there is much more that we don't know about. Here, he could be referring to Azeroth being a potentially fairer master than the light, or not abandoning Magni as Magni believes. I mean, the context is kind of unclear at the moment. Then Magni says he should just figure himself out, rest, enjoy the break from the stress of being a king and a savior of the world. However, to that, Anduin responds, I can see what you mean, but my relationship with the light is not like yours to Azeroth. Here, Anduin is of course not spilling the beans outright. I mean, that would kind of spoil the entire storyline, and is continuing to
He's keeping it inside, but clearly there's something amiss between Anduin and the light. And it looks like it's by choice, which is what's interesting about this video and why the whole thing is started was Anduin didn't lose the light because the light abandoned him. It seems like he abandoned the light.
Mysterious, but it definitely plays in with the previous hints. As I said, we don't know the full context yet, as it seems like Magni loses the speaker role and returns to regular dwarf form, which is similar to Anduin's transformation, but it appears like this happens naturally. However, the reason he probably says the relationship is different is because he is the one that abandoned his master. Remember how pissed off Anduin gets in the cinematic when Troll talks to him about the light, and Anduin, first of all, annoyed that people see him just for his light powers, and then he says, I don't have the light anymore, not after what I had seen, what I had done. I think he realized that the light might not be the only way to go forward, and it doesn't particularly care about Azeroth, but instead it only uses pawns of Azeroth to further its own interests.
Right.
This perfectly plays in with other things happening at the War Within. I mean, you might have heard the information that the crystal in Hollowfall is called Beledar, which is almost certainly some type of a Naru ship.
Crass
remember,
Naru ship.
all Naru ships we could see have been named Genedar, Zenedar, Vindicar. Definitely similar to Beledar,
Samadar.
so this could have literally been a light invasion of Azeroth that we never knew about. There's going to be a huge storyline between Anduin and the Arathi humans, and we already have conversations of him first learning about how people know about the Arathi on the isolated island and him making contact with them.
Yeah, the light that the Arathi deal with, everything that they do is very different from what we know. It talks about radiating warmth and heat, and how it's like a flaming light. Like, it's a very different light from anything we've actually dealt with. And it seems like it's more of a true light. I don't know. It seems like a better light version than what we currently have. And I feel like that's the light that Anduin is going to learn to wield. And then he comes back to Stormwind, kind of shows Turalyon this true light, and Turalyon probably is going to think this is blasphemy. He's like, this is a lie. You've been lied to. And then it could lead to some kind of fight where Turalyon doesn't want somebody wielding fake light as he sees it to take over the throne of Stormwind and essentially the world, and he'll believe it's his duty to kind of defend his version of the light. And that's why I think there's going to be some type of fight in the end between the two of them.
Of him first learning about how people know about the Arathi on the isolated island and him making contact with them. Additionally, we can read a bunch of these light undead, and we still don't have context for them.
Yeah, Turalyon will probably see this as blasphemy too. Light undead, look at that. The shit's radiating out of their wounds and everything. These guys look crazy.
Have context for them. It could be a punishment for maybe disobeying the light with the Arathi. It could be the more fanatical version of the Arathi Paladins, or it could of course all be related to Kalia Manatil. Remember, Kalia is the only light undead we had actually seen until BFA. We didn't even know.
I wonder if Turalyon knows about Kalia. Does he know about her? I have no idea. They haven't interacted in the lore, I don't think. And I wonder how he'd feel about a Menethil too, but he probably doesn't, recognize that whole lore trap. He was gone by then. He was fighting in the Thousand Years' War.
Light could dabble in necromancy, and it was a Naru that personally helped resurrect Kalia. Why is the light making undead? I mean, that doesn't really seem like something a benevolent force would be doing. All this is, of course, very early information. I mean, just seeds at this point in time. As the alpha progresses to Hollowfall, we will actually learn more. However, light lore is definitely going to be a heavy theme in this expansion. And
yeah, light and void lore. Yeah, interesting point, Formax, that, his wife is dabbling in the void, right? And if he's okay with that, then he should be okay with Anduin wielding another light. But the thing is, his wife hasn't necessarily told him that your side is wrong. I feel like when Anduin comes back, if he does, with this new light, he's going to have to tell Turalyon, like, hey, man, everything you believe is wrong. This is fake. This ain't the real light. That's where he's going to have a problem. But yeah, you're right. It's interesting to think about, his wife dealing with the void at the same time.
Certain we will soon see the true face of the light and what it truly is as we are setting everything up for midnight. Thank you for watching. Check out my video on the pre-patch and us fighting the Lich King by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies in Spain by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, very good video actually. Not too much lore speculation. He kind of just dropped the lore on us and let us think about it. Definitely, I agree with him. It seems like Anduin abandoned the light rather than the light abandoning him, which is going to lead to some interesting lore. We're probably going to find out why he felt that way, some of the stuff that happened to him while he was under the jailer's control, what he realized about the light, and maybe him trying to spread this new message about what the light really is, maybe what these Hollowfall guys are dealing with, and everything else going forward, and then what he decides to do in terms of, I don't know, class selection, or what he chooses to go, what type of power he chooses to wield going forward.